Brother, if you've clicked this video, then that means you're anxious. Whether it's the fear of leaving your house or you're too scared to be yourself in conversation in case you say the wrong thing, anxiety is getting in the way of your life. And trust me, brother, I know how it feels. From the age of 12 onwards until probably the last couple of years or so, and I'm 24 by the way, so that's around 10 years, I was really deeply anxious. I remember being a kid and my brother would want to walk to the corner shop near our house, or my dad would want to take our dog for a walk with me, and I was just filled with anxiety in case you know my my brain would be going crazy with the thoughts of what happens if I bump into somebody I know. Oh my god, then I'll have to speak to them. Or what happens if we walk past someone and something bad happens? And it was constant. All these thoughts, all these feelings, I was constantly thinking the worst. I was expecting the worst to happen. I was filled with anxiety. So, trust me, brother, I know how it feels to be anxious. But believe it or not, it is possible to escape these feelings and live in a way that, you chill. You don't have to be anxious every time you leave the house. And you're probably sat there thinking, well, how? Well, I've got some points, some steps that if you follow all of them, if you integrate all of them into your life for the next week, 2 weeks, then I guarantee you will see a huge difference in your anxiety levels and your comfort whenever you go out the house. And and trust me, brother, they're not hard to follow on the things that you should be doing anyway. So the first one is be brave. Before anything else, you need to come to terms with this. The best way to combat anxiety is through exposure. So when it comes to your anxiety, I'm assuming it it is not there all the time. I'm assuming it comes when you have to do something and then that makes you anxious. So maybe it's speaking to new people, or maybe it's leaving the house, or maybe it is going to school or college or work or anything. Then you have to be brave and come to terms with the fact that the only way this anxiety is going to leave is if you expose yourself to this over and over again, repetitively. Because uh, I'm sure the feeling is huge right now. The feeling of anxiety, it's crippling. But the more you face your fear, then the smaller that feeling of anxiety you'll get. And don't get me wrong, it won't be sudden. It won't be an instant fix. But eventually, over time, that feeling of anxiety will slowly start to decrease and get smaller and smaller. And eventually, doing that thing won't bother you anymore. So, exposure is the best way to get rid of anxiety, no matter what it is. And the next steps are the lifestyle changes, huge lifestyle changes that will make a big difference. So, number one, then the first one I've got is breathing. Now, usually, if you're anxious, then this probably means you're not breathing properly, and maybe it's not breathing properly that's causing anxiety, or when you're anxious, that means you stop breathing properly, and that makes you more anxious. I'm not sure if you've ever caught yourself whilst you've been anxious and stop to think about your breathing. I mean, you probably haven't, but next time you're anxious, try and focus on your breathing and think about how you're breathing, and you'll probably realize that you're not breathing properly, and this will increase your heart rate and raise your cortisol, which is the stress hormone within your body, and it results in this horrible cycle where it raises cortisol from not breathing properly, and then that will put your body into fight or flight mode, which will then increase more cortisol, produce more cortisol, so you'll be even more stressed out, and it's just a vicious cycle. So the best way to combat this is to just breathe. Be mindful of your breathing and take a deep breath through your nose, hold it for a couple of seconds, and then out through your mouth. And do this a couple of times, and I guarantee you'll feel better. And leading on from this, it's so important that you slow your heart rate. So I just mentioned there, you know, the your heart rate, the faster your heart rate's beating, probably the more anxious you're going to be. But this is because your blood pressure is raising and all that. So the most logical thing to do is to slow your heart rate, and you can do this in a few ways. But some of the best ways are to start meditating and practicing breath work. And the best type of breath work to practice is Wim Hof. Maybe you have heard of it, maybe you haven't. Wim Hof is the guy who invented ice baths, taking ice baths and cold exposure, and he came up with his own breathwork exercise routine, whatever you want to call it, and it is crazy for anxiety. It completely diminishes any anxiety that you might be feeling. So it's definitely worth giving him a Google on YouTube. Just Google his breathwork guide, his breathwork routine, and follow that whenever you're feeling anxious. And I guarantee it's a good instant way of stopping anxiety. But then if you incorporate meditation and breathwork consistently, that was the word I was looking for, consistently into your life, then eventually your overall levels of anxiety will just start to decrease because you'll regulate your heart rate and that kind of thing. And these also help with mindfulness, which it leads me on to the next thing that is great for anxiety is practicing mindfulness. Now, anxiety is where you're worrying about things that are yet to happen, whether that's the examples I used before, so going outside or going to work or talking to someone you don't know yet. You're anxious in case something happens whilst you're doing those things. You're worried. And worry is like about the future. Worry is always about the future. Obviously, you can worry about the past, but if you're anxious, it's because it hasn't happened yet. And the best way to combat this is being present in the moment, and just thinking of the here and now, thinking of what you're doing now, taking it step by step, second by second, rather than looking hours into the future at what could happen but hasn't happened yet. That just makes sense, because why would you worry about something that hasn't happened yet? Because it might not ever happen. You might spend hours worrying about something that might never happen, and this is something that I used to be a real victim of. And practicing mindfulness through meditation and breath work is a great way to combat this. Another great thing that you can do for anxiety is exercise. Now, exercise is huge nowadays. It gets preached about so much constantly, but that's for good reason. Now, long term, it's great, and it's not more than great, to be honest. It's essential that you have a proper routine, a proper exercise routine where you're hitting the gym and you're doing cardio and maybe doing some martial arts in there. Obviously that counts as cardio, but yeah, long term, it's so important that you do this, because this, as well as the steps, some of the things that the points I've got to come, and some of the points I've already covered, are huge for testosterone. Now, if you're a male and you're feeling anxious, you've got high levels of anxiety, this could be down to your testosterone. And going to the gym, as well as getting proper sleep, is a great way that you can combat this, and obviously raise that testosterone naturally alongside dieting and eating the right things. So long term, having a proper routine is great for anxiety, and this is because obviously over time it helps lower your stress hormone of cortisol, and it also just promotes good feelings through the endorphins that exercise releases. But short term, the best thing that you can do, in my opinion, short term for anxiety, is doing the hardest possible cardio that you can do. So one thing I used to do when I was really anxious at university is I used to, those assault bikes that like professional fighters and athletes use. I'm sure your local gym has one of those, and I bet you've never even used it. Next time you feel anxious, remember my words, remember my beautiful British accent telling you, to go on that assault bike. And what you need to do is have your hands on the handles and just pedal like you're on a normal bike, just slow and steady for 45 seconds, and then for another 15 seconds after that, push as hard as you can on that assault bike, pushing yourself to the limits. And then when that 15 seconds is done and you're back to the 45 seconds of just pedaling slowly, with the handles, just slow and steady at a good pace. And then again, the last 15 seconds of the minute, you push yourself. And if you repeat this 10, 12 times, that's all. It's only 10, 12-minute workout. Sounds easy, right? Go and do it and see how easy it is. But if you do it, then I guarantee you after that, you won't be anxious. It's crazy. It's crazy what it does for your cortisol and the endorphins that it produces. It's crazy. And that's probably, in my opinion, if you're going to take anything away from this video in terms of dealing with your anxiety short term, that's the best thing that you can do. The best. The next point I've got is your diet. So you need to fuel your body with the right things. And I know in today's world, a lot of people just eat junk food, drink loads, overconsume alcohol, overconsume caffeine as well through energy drinks, coffees, going to Starbucks, all those kinds of things. But overconsumption of caffeine and alcohol can overstimulate your nervous system and flood you with anxiety. So if you're filled with anxiety all the time, then one thing you should do is review your diet and think, am I fueling my body with the best possible things that I can? And if not, then maybe reassess that, because it comes down, well, caffeine and alcohol comes back to that heart rate that I mentioned earlier. Caffeine and alcohol speed up your heart rate, which will make you feel anxious and will fill you with cortisol. And the final one is sleep. So sleep is so important. Getting a good amount of sleep is so important for everything in life. Obviously, people preach about getting your 8 hours and that kind of thing, but I think if you aren't doing that and you aren't used to doing that, it's so easy to be like, oh, I get 4 hours sleep a night and I'm fine. Like, you're exaggerating. But if you've never had a good 8 hours sleep and you feel anxious all the time, then I implore you, please go, like tonight, get 8 hours sleep and see how you feel in the morning. And by that I mean, don't go to sleep at 2 and sleep till 10, because like it's just not it. Every hour of sleep you get after 2 a.m. or every hour you're awake after 2 a.m. costs double of what an hour would before 2 a.m. Hopefully that makes sense. I've butchered that saying, but like if you stay awake past 12 o'clock, nothing good happens. And your sleep, like if you're sleeping past 7, 8 a.m. in the morning, if you're sleeping in at like 10, 11, 12 o'clock into midday, which is what I used to do when I was younger, then you'll wake up feeling groggy, feeling horrible. So try and go to sleep around 10, 11 p.m. Get 8 hours sleep and see how you feel. Do that for a week and see how you feel, because I guarantee you won't be feeling as anxious. And that goes for all these. If you can do all of these things for a week, 2 weeks, and then reassess how anxious you feel at the end, then I guarantee your anxiety will improve. I hope this video helped you, brother, because I know how it feels to be anxious, and when you're deeply, deeply anxious, it can be one of the worst feelings in human history. So I hope this helps. I hope that you can get your anxiety under control. And if not, come back to the video, watch it all again, and try again. Good luck, brother. I love you. See you later. Bye.